last but not least, this awesome Sefer has a section about an halachic tshuva, about the cash advance business. The business that is the root of destruction time and time again throughout the generations. I'm working on translating this tshuva to English. And B'ezrat Hashem will publish it separately. And when it's an halachic tshuva, it's not a standard translation. It takes a lot more effort and time. But I can tell you this. Whatever I said in lectures about the cash advance business, and as horrible as it is, it's actually much worse. Now, the Chachamim didn't just bring their halachic considerations about whether you should or you shouldn't be in a lending business or not. They brought history. And I'll give you a couple of sections I worked on just in the last couple of days, where you literally see how this has been a tragedy for the Jewish people. Now, of course, the cash advance business, charging interest, high interest, is not just a Jewish thing. There are plenty of non-Jews in the business. But the fact that there's a single Jew, needless to say, a religious Jew, in the business is already one too many. The fact that there is many religious Jews in the cash advance business and similar types of operations with rabbis supporting it here in America and in other places shows literally how close we are to another Holocaust. The behavior of 200 years ago, we already have confirmed, is identical to America today, identical to Canada today, identical to England today, identical to Australia today, identical to Jewish communities in Israel, literally, identical. What about business? In the Sefer Derech HaMelech, by Rabbi Finkelstein, on page 63, there he noted research by a Y. Rosenthal. Y. Rosenthal Research and Sources in a Jerusalem 5727. So figure almost 60 years ago. Page 265. So in this Sefer Derech HaMelech, he says, anyone that's knowledgeable in human history will see clearly the accuracy of these words, where researchers have shown that throughout the period, the last couple of hundred years, and throughout all of history from the Middle Ages until now, anti-Semites of different stripes cheated the Jews and attacked them because some Jews believe that we're allowed to, it's a mitzvah to lend non-Jews money with interest. Meaning that this belief that many people publicize, that Jews are allowed to charge interest to non-Jews, has actually been a tool that the anti-Semites have used to hate us. In fact, Rav Ovadia writes in Alichot Olam and also in Maaseh Ovadia, in Alichot Olam in volume 8, Parashat Vayitchanan, Amud 6, and in Maaseh Ovadia in page 380. He brings the commentary on the Kerem Shlomo. And he says that Jews should stay away from lending money with interest, even outside of Israel, due to the many negative decrees that were declared against us over the generations. And he says that this is true even in countries which call themselves democracies or democratic, because more than once we've seen that they have passed laws against the Jews under various strange and twisted justifications. May Hashem have mercy. And in these circumstances, there's certainly no room for permission to lend money with interest for Jews. To non-Jews. To anybody. The Gaon, Rabbi Yechezkel Landau, in his Sefer Drashot Tzlach, publication by Machon Tzlach, Elad edition, on page 539, he warned about this danger of Jewish people lending money with interest. And he writes as follows: it's forbidden to lend with interest to those nations whom we live in their shadow and treat us favorably. They are people of faith, believers of the blessed Creator, and the Torah of Moshe came from heaven. Anyone, he's referring to the Jewish people, anyone who takes interest from the nations in our times, more than the norm in the markets of that country, is committing two evils. One, the very fact of taking interest payments itself is evil. And furthermore, he is in the category of a rodef, who is among those who put the Jewish people in danger by giving us a bad image in the eyes of the nations. It is appropriate for us to follow the attributes of the Holy One, blessed be He, who desires kindness. But as a result of our many sins, continues Rav Landau, the wicked people act the opposite of this instruction. As Shlomo HaMelech says in Proverbs 12:10, the mercy of the wicked is cruelty. We can clearly see that those people who lend money with interest initially seem to be an act of compassion and lending money to the poor in his time of distress. However, in the end, we see that this is an evil and cruel dispensation. This lender increases the interest and makes things tougher on the borrowers with biting interest. Eventually, the poor man simply cannot bear it, and the lender comes to take away all the poor man's property as part of his interest obligations. These are the words of Rabbi Yechezkel Landau. Similarly, brings Rabbi Ephraim in his Sefer, Rav Michael HaKohen Baruch narrates in his book called Zichron Av Ubno, page 334 and 335, his own memories of his life when he lived in Ukraine, in a place called Kolomya. And he tells of how there were certain Jewish personalities who took high interest, even more than the value of the principal amount, meaning over 100% interest, and they caused a lot of animosity towards the Jews by the non-Jews. 100% in cash advance is cheap, because some of them are charging 600-700%, and even some as high as 4,000%. But here he's talking about how this interest of 100% caused anti-Semitism in Ukraine. If that was enough, this would be sufficient. But there's more. In Morocco, Sefer Kovetz Asufot, volume 15, page 95. An historian by the name of Eliezer Bashan came to the conclusion in his book that there was a certain degree of justification to the hatred that the locals had towards the Jewish population in Morocco, in Fez, Morocco. This was due to those Jews who were on the one hand enjoying the hospitality of the foreign nation, meaning Morocco, but yet on the other hand, they were lending them money with high interest. Even the rabbi of Fez, of Morocco at the time, from 1873 to 1900, also agreed and joined in holding these Jews at fault. Meaning this is not just a lone historian that is agreeing with the Gentile perspective. No, the rabbi of Morocco agreed that these wicked Jews are causing anti-Semitism. So whether it's Morocco, or it's Ukraine, or it's Poland, or it's Germany, or it's anywhere in history, you saw Jews lend money with interest, it creates anti-Semitism. And unfortunately, one of the businesses that many people are going to today is this rotten business. Why? Because the Yetzer Hara pays cash. The Satan pays cash. And a lot of it. People think that they're going to do good. And therefore they'll be able to give tzedakah. I can assure you, not a single dollar that you donate from that business is considered tzedakah. It's all considered stolen. Every single person in that business, even if you're a clerk, even if you do the paperwork, if you're a lawyer, if you're an accountant for them, if you're a secretary, needless to say, if you're a broker, a principal, compliance officer, and an owner, every single one of those people is bringing anti-Semitism to the world. Every single one of them is increasing the power of Amalek, and some of them are even part of Amalek. And worse of it all, any rabbi that takes money from those people, knowing that this is where they get their money from, without saying anything, without stopping it, without at least rebuking the guy, and trying to get him to do tshuva, you are a partner to the crime. Why? By you taking money from these criminals, you're in essence enabling them to continue doing evil. If you are in a horrible, spiritually deformed business, whether it's the cash advance business or any other business, if you're cheating your customers, if you are cheating anybody, if you're stealing, if you're being dishonest, if you're a dishonest doctor, you're a dishonest lawyer, you're dishonest in anything, you are empowering Amalek. You are bringing a Holocaust to the Jewish people. Don't blame the non-Jews for being evil. They're simply being used as a tool by Hashem to get us to do tshuva. Why does Hashem use them? Because of people like you that steal from them, that empower them. This doesn't justify their sins, doesn't allow them to cause us any harm. But it's important for the Jewish people to know this is not a new thing. Anti-Semitism being on the rise is not a new thing. More than 50% of Americans have already admitted that they hate the Jewish people. That's just 50% that admit. Who knows about the other 50% that hasn't admitted yet? That means there's between 175 to 200 million people in America alone that hate Jews. Needless to say, the people around the world, they have all the reasons in the world to not hate us, but you're giving them a reason to hate us. We've invented amazing things. We've brought amazing things to the world, whether it be technology, medicine, all types of innovation, all types of things, most importantly, religion. But you with your rotten greed, whether it's in your cash advance business or your corrupt other operation, are giving the non-Jews a reason to hate the Jews. No, it's not because of the religious Jews like me that the non-Jews hate us. In fact, even anti-Semites like us In fact, even anti-Semites write comments under my videos and say, you know what, you make me respect the real Jews. Now I know there's a difference. Guess what? Just because someone is religious doesn't mean they're a real Jew. And just because someone's not religious doesn't mean they're a fake Jew. If you are cheating the non-Jews, you are the cause of the next Holocaust, the next destruction of the Bet HaMikdash. You are destroying the Bet HaMikdash every day. As Chazal teach us, every day that the Bet HaMikdash has not been built, that's because we destroyed it. Meaning, if it was here today, Hashem would destroy it today. Anytime you cheat, it's a sin. But when you cheat a non-Jew, it's even worse than cheating a Jew. Because he no longer blames you, he blames Judaism. It's a chilul Hashem. So whether you're cheating, stealing, or simply causing agony to the non-Jews, wherever they may be, in one business or another, you have to understand, you are the problem. You are the problem. It's time to do tshuva. Don't tell me Mashiach now. Mashiach is not going to help people like you. Mashiach will destroy people like you that empowered Amalek. Many of our communities don't speak about stuff like this because there's money involved, because there's reputations involved, because of all types of flawed reasons. We have to understand this distance that the people have from Judaism today is not because they know so much about Judaism and they decide they don't like it, but quite the opposite. Because the average person, the average Jew, is not given a real Jewish education, even if they sometimes go to yeshiva. They smell, the kids of this generation smell the dishonesty in the air. They ask rabbis basic questions about reward and punishment. They can't get a legit answer. They ask different people about different types of things. They can't get a normal answer. We are all at fault here. Instead of crying about a building that was destroyed 2,000 years ago, perhaps we should start crying until we change today. Until we fix our behaviors today. Now, while everybody has an excuse of why they're not so ready to be a Talmid Chacham and study Torah all day, fine. Can you at least keep the basics of mitzvot? And you know what? We'll make it even easier. Can you at the very least be honest in your business? Be honest in your ethics? Be honest with your morality? Stop chasing all types of things that are forbidden, all types of things that don't belong to you. All of these liberals claim to be decent people, while decency has a completely different definition than what they think it is. If there's an ounce of decency in any one of us, we have to start seeing what the truth is instead of defining it. This is the truth. This is where I go. Don't redefine the truth. Don't rationalize the truth. Don't modernize the truth. The truth of Judaism has been around for over 3,300 years. And any time we try to modernize it, we try to improvise it, we try to do all types of things to steer away from it, a disaster was what happened. The Jewish people need more truth. Needless to say, the whole world does. Instead of trying to redefine what the truth is supposed to be according to your desires, look at the truth that worked. Look at the truth by the ultimate giver of truth, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who has a signature that says emet, truth. Now, if you can't follow all of it right away, at the very least, Don't continue disgraceful behavior of saying that perhaps the truth should change. The truth is the truth. And whatever else you're doing is simply not. Instead of us crying about a building, instead of us crying about a Mashiach, instead of us crying about all types of things that most people cannot even fathom, no more than Plato can fathom the secret of tears. Instead of crying about all of those, let's cry about the things we can do something about. Let's reform the things that we can reform. Reform our business practices to be in line with honesty. Reform our spiritual practices to be in line with halacha. Reform our mindsets to be with the ideology of the sages. Reform our sense of truth to be in line with the Torah itself and the Creator that created truth. You want to reform? Reform back to the truth. And see the destruction will no longer happen. Not to us and anyone else that loves us, but only to our haters, only to our enemies. Instead of crying about some things that the average person does not understand, let's cry about those people that never got a chance to even hear the truth once in their life. Cry enough for Hashem to have mercy, for them to get an opportunity to hear the truth once and for all. Because when they do, if there is 1 ounce of their body that is Jewish, they'll jump at that truth and abandon all lies. The only people that stick to lies are people that love lies, because it simply enables them to be wicked, even if they pretend to be righteous. You want to reform? Reform back to the truth. It's a much better system. God signed off on it. Thank you for learning with me. May Hashem bless each and every single one of us to have success in the reformation of our own ideologies, personalities, religiosity, business, and everything that we have, to be in line with HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will. And may Hashem give each and every single one of us the wherewithal to encourage our communities to do the same. Once we do that, we will finally be the light of the nations. Kol Tuv, B'cha B'atzlacha, and we'll speak again and learn again.
I've heard enough. New arrival screams echoing through the hallway to know that this ain't good. Once they pass them through the infierno, they don't come back. It's enough to make you go crazy.
Do not think we fear you, Spirit. We know your power is born of evil. This is your last night in the land of the living. You understand me, malevolent demon?
Just know, once you cross that threshold, there is only one way out.
There was a rich family that lived here called the Hetheringtons, and unfortunately, their daughter passed away of a heart attack inside the house. Basically, they were so devastated that they reached out to people claiming to be psychic mediums. They actually weren't psychic mediums. They opened up a total of 11 portals inside this house and invited spirits and entities from all different kinds of dimensions.
Well, I think there are certain pieces of evidence that there is an afterlife.
Resurrection of the dead is affirmed pretty clearly in the Talmud and the Midrash.
To be honest with you, to give this lecture is a nightmare. If it was up to me, I wouldn't do it. There's going to be some graphic details.
This place is a maze.
The person after death went to a place called Sheol.
This is by far the largest near-death experience study that has ever been conducted.
People go to a place and they experience weird things. And sometimes they actually will see a character of some type. Well, where did that come from?
I don't know why that one chain is swinging back there.
They may describe feeling profoundly peaceful, seeing a bright, warm, welcoming light. Some people describe watching doctors and nurses working on them with incredible accuracy.
Next thing I knew, I was above my body watching the operation.
How long did you feel like you were gone?
I went to a place of timelessness. And so what that means, it could have been a second, could have been 5 minutes. I don't know.
Can you imagine waking up from your sleep and not being able to move?
As I'm lying there, I realized that there's an evil presence next to me.
Do you believe that angels, demons exist?
Holy shit, dude, get out of here! Oh my god, dude!
Strange things keep happening. Bizarre nightmares, as if I'm on fire in the woods.
Whoa, what the hell is this? Man, I've got bad chest pain.
Satan's Hollow is what it's called, the portal to hell.
Some people calling it an eye of fire, while others said it looked like the portal to hell opening up.
And the next thing I know, I was outside of my body, looking at my body.
What I'm going to do is called claromancy, the art of throwing lots or throwing bones.
2,000 years of experience, passed down, recorded, of how demons work.
God has them all on a leash, and he lets the leash go enough to let them tempt us, because that's what makes us spiritually stronger.
I'm trying to be as graphic as possible so you understand what we're talking about.
It's your ticket to reality. It's your ticket to freedom. It's your ticket to immortality.
Is there an afterlife? Is there a
It's
God?
the type of information that can keep you away from the Yetzirah.
What happens to us after we die?